What's up, fellas?
How's it going, sir?
What's up? What's up? Man, it's been a minute. I haven't talked men's physique in a minute.
I know.
Yeah.
Where's NPR?
We do seasons, bro. We do after the Olympia, we'll stay on for a few episodes, maybe 3 weeks or so, and then we give it some downtime basically until the Arnold, and then we start picking up weekly from there.
Oh, got it. Yeah, we had
Yeah,
Co-
Chris on yesterday.
Coincidentally, this is gonna be our last episode of the season
yeah.
as well. We figured we ended off with a, you know,
I
with a
appreciate that.
with a legend in the making, I
I
should
appreciate
say.
that,
Uh,
brother. I'm honored. I know I've been following what you guys have been doing online, man. And, Alex had an opportunity to meet you in person. You're a good dude. So I love what you guys are doing, man. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to get my space up to the standard of a podcast.
I, bro,
So,
I have a content studio upstairs in my house and I overdo it. I just have a tendency in overdoing it, bro. But I will say when it comes to the podcast, like NPR, I always just try to simplify it, bro. I always tell people if I have guests on or, you guys are, meal timing, you guys are in prep, you got to do what you got to do. Like cook on camera, like do what you got to do. Like people want to see that kind of experience and just almost feel like boys being boys, like us just talking our shit about something that we all have similar passions about. So that's how I phrase like the podcast, whereas like the individual content that I create is a little bit more like,
polished. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely hit you up for some tips when it comes to like lighting and stuff though. But
Mhm.
it looks like your space does look cool. It looks legit.
Thank you.
Um, But thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate everything you've done for not just like bodybuilding as a whole, but specifically the men's physique division. Um, I used to work, I was a professional lacrosse player in a previous life, and I used to work for a guy called Paul Rabel, who was like the LeBron James of the sport. And he took it upon himself to start vlogging, and he actually started a professional league, and which I was a part of for year one. And you remind me a lot of him, where you had to take on a lot of responsibility. You're putting your face out there while still competing, which is very hard to do because obviously you're amongst your peers as well. So I wanted to lead it off to you just to talk about what got you into the sport. I know you were previously a football player, and kind of we'll take it from there. But start with the beginnings.
Of course, man. So first, like I said, guys, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's not many faces, covering men's physique. I always say we are a little bit of the redheaded stepchild of the bodybuilding community. So whenever I have an opportunity to come on and talk the division, man, I'm gonna do it with a smile on my face. So again, I love what you guys are doing, and I'm excited to be on. Now, my foundation, my background started, like you said, with football, right? That's how I kind of got into lifting. Now, lifting for football is much different than lifting for bodybuilding, but yet and still gave me the foundation of what it feels like to put weight on and so on and so forth. Believe it or not, what transitioned me from football style training to bodybuilding was a breakup. So a breakup literally kind of reworked my mindset to kind of improve on myself physically, and every other aspect. But when it came to physically, the gym was something that I was already a little bit related to, right? So it was very easy for me to transition into that. And before, I realized, or before I knew it, that breakup led to a heightened level of consistency in the gym, which then led to success on stage. So, it was not a sexy story, believe it or not, but the reality was, man, I would say, to my clients or to people who are questioning, your why, believe it or not, does not matter. Your why, believe it or not, will change consistently. Everybody's so hyped up about the why. My why was a bad breakup. That's it, right? It's not sexy, but it's my reality. And that sprungboard me because my why now is much different than my why then.
Well, you just started a family, right? Or you have a kid
Yeah.
on the way?
Yes, sir. So my wife we are 3 weeks away today from the baby coming, hopefully. So I'm excited, man. I'm nervous, all right, but at the same time, I'm excited.
So
Balancing all that is gonna be heck,
yeah.
I can only imagine like a headache. How do you prepare yourself for that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I am an over planner. This is kind of my nature. And as you guys know, I have a lot of moving parts in my life. So the biggest thing that I've been doing, as you guys have seen me taking a step back from just the public eye, is me now getting my ducks in a row to create efficiencies. So when I'm in a prep setting, when I'm need to be here for manifest or, the podcast, whatever it might be, I have my ducks in a row. So delegation is everything. I hired an assistant. I have a full-time videographer who we recently just hired. So these people are going to help me kind of keep my ducks in a row and basically a lot of meetings and planning to get ready for what's to come. So during that first, 6 months plus, I'm able to slow down, but not limit the growth while slowing down. Slowing down to be here present with my family, but not slowing down in the aspects of growth, my success on stage, and so on and so forth.
Do you feel
Would
like that making it to Olympian 2 times that had to do with like your mindset now?
What do you mean by that?
Like to get you ready, because I guess making it to Olympia takes a lot of moving
Yeah.
parts.
I'll tell you this much. Bodybuilding as a whole has taught me so much about structure, about obviously discipline, right? But taught me a lot about myself, the good and the bad, where I have holes at and things that I need to, plug in order to be efficient in all areas of my life. So I can definitely say that bodybuilding and especially like prepping to a high level with that level of pressure and those eyeballs, right? That definitely forced me to kind of reevaluate and make sure that I had these things in my life. Man, I hear all the time that Alex has so many things going on in my life. 100% I do, man. I'm very blessed, but I do what I do with more efficiency than most people do with the lesser of what they have on their plate. And I take that with a lot of pride. I always try to say, whether it's coaching, whether it's any of the businesses, the content creation, I want to be the best version of me I possibly can in all of those aspects, and it takes time, it takes delegation, and it takes an obsessive personality to, put things in order to, set myself up for
I
success.
feel like a lot of people talk about riding the midline, meaning like not getting too high and getting too low. But I'm an emotional person. I wear my heart on my sleeve in everything I do, like whether it's work, competing, social life. I kind of enjoy like getting high and going low and feeling it. I've seen a lot of your content over the years, and it looks like you're pretty vulnerable with the camera. And that's probably why you've been able to amass a following and get that connection with the fan base and the division. Would you say that resonates with you, or are you trying to ride the midline, or are you very open to feeling those highs and then like embracing those lows?
Yeah, I don't think riding the midline isn't that you don't feel those things, right? I think you're gonna inevitably feel the high of a win, you're gonna feel the low of a loss just because there's expectations. If you do the work, you are justified to have those expectations on whatever you do, right? And that's no matter what the outcome is going to be. But with that, I think just takes a certain level of maturity and honestly, just sweat equity in the sport of bodybuilding. Like that's the reality of it. You can't expect somebody who's stepping on stage for the first time to learn to ride the midline after their first show. But it took me, winning shows, losing shows, placing second, falling out of the first call out. It took all of these things for me to realize that the sport of
Mm.
bodybuilding is so up and down that if you truly attach yourself to the emotions and the roller coaster of ups and downs that come with it, a lot of times you'll get lost. And I found myself getting lost after the 2023 season where I placed second, third, fell back, eighth place, right? Second again. Like there's so many things that happened. And keep in mind, that's coming off of my most successful career, time ever, right? So I had the highest of highs and next time I had the lowest of lows. And I realized that that was my most depressive state of my life. And I needed, if I wanted to be a bodybuilder and one at a high level, I needed to learn how to manage those emotions better. And I got the advice from Andre Ferguson right after the lowest show I had, Chicago Pro, which was to ride the midline. And I've been doing that. It's a lot easier said than being done. But overall, I feel like I'm very good at being able to, take a win and internalize it in a way that doesn't, inflate my head. But at the same time, same thing with the loss. A loss doesn't kill me anymore.
Do you think it was a hard transition for you, like coming from football? Like I know for me, lacrosse, like you're prepping for a game, you're getting hyped up, you're trying to take someone's head off, right? It's a very
Yeah.
physical sport, like football. And I noticed that when I started bodybuilding, I tried to like bring that element to it. And then I quickly like for me anyway, that it's almost the opposite. And I tried to now look at it as like a therapeutic I'm in the zone, very relaxed. And like, was it hard for you to transition from football to bodybuilding because of that, or was that a seamless transition for you?
The characteristics of what it is to be good in football, sports in general, are very similar to bodybuilding, right? The only difference is it's not a team sport. Outside of that, there's still things that I learned from being a football player that I took with me to be a bodybuilder. But I will say, man, I still have that killer mentality. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people who want to, you know, rip anybody else down or speak uberly confident to a point where people now think it's arrogant. But don't get it twisted. When I see competition, I want to embarrass them respectfully. I
Yeah.
want to assert my dominance. I want to show that my work is better than your work. Now, again, I will never go up to somebody and speak those words because that's just not the kind of person I am. But I still
Right.
have that meet me in the whole mentality that I had from football that I still carry with me on stage today.
Well, it's a very
What position you
respectful
played?
sport. Yeah.
Bro, I was a receiver in college. I was a receiver. Growing up, I was a running back. So I always had that mentality, and I wasn't one of those east, west kind of. I was north south. Meet me in the
Yeah,
hole,
no,
and let's see who actually did their fucking push-ups.
yeah, nice.
Yeah. I think that's fair though. Like, I mean, I do appreciate the sport in the sense that it seems like very supportive for the most part. Especially from what I see with the guys, like,
Mhm.
sharing dumbbells backstage, giving, you have people coaching fellow competitors, right? It's a bit of an incestuous sport.
Yes.
But to your point, that does resonate. At the end of the day, this is a sport. Someone has to win. It's subjective, yes, but I don't think there's anything negative to wanting to beat someone. If you don't want to beat someone, then what are you even competing for?
Yeah, then why be competitive? Like I, but when I'm on bodybuilding is not a solo sport. It's not. But when you're on stage, it is you, right? It's you versus the guy next to you. And if
Yeah.
you don't get fired up, if you don't get excited, if you don't kind of get that edge about you, I'm telling you, man, like you're gonna notice that kind of fire burnout, man. Bodybuilding puts you through a lot. It requires a lot of you, right? So those moments on stage and having that competitive drive is a small part of keeping you moving forward in bodybuilding. If you're not a competitive person, bodybuilding probably isn't going to be for you, at least not for the long term.
What would you say is, like when you have so many clients, you're a big time coach now, you're a pretty large team from what I can see with
Mhm.
Team Reform. What, what's the biggest challenge that you faced in helping your early stage athletes adapt to the sport? And I know that's probably a loaded question, but I guess as your time is, going on and becoming more of a veteran coach, like I guess maybe what would you have told yourself as a coach previously, like when you first started, as opposed to now and the way you handle your clients and help them through the highs and lows of this sport?
At one point, it was really hard for me to hear clients saying that they're struggling by doing what I consider the bare minimum, right? I always say I have high standards for my clients.
Yeah.
So what I had to grow as a coach was to learn that just because I was able to get through the suck, that not everybody else can get through with the same level of grace. Um, because I went through a lot, in my life and through bodybuilding at the same time. I lost my job, I lost family members, it was a lot, right? Emotionally and mentally. And I got through that. All right. So when I see a client who's they're not, I guess, able to get through it, or they're showing signs of I don't want to say weakness because that comes across a little wrong, but just not,
Vulnerability, yeah.
yeah, the effort of not trying to get through it, I guess you could say.
Okay.
It's a lot harder for me to almost like accept that. But at the same time, I need to remember that just because I did something doesn't necessarily mean the other person's going to do it. But at the same time, that's a perfect opportunity for me to educate my clients to teach them how to do things the right way, how to ride the midline like we talked about, right? How to go through the emotional roller coasters of the sport because again, I learned it the hard way. Right? I didn't necessarily have somebody who pointed out certain things. That people were there for me, but again, now that I have an opportunity to help people navigate their own journeys, I do take an onus on that to make sure that I do so in a way that I guess matures them a lot quicker than maybe I did.
Right. And how do you learn about this? Like, I'm a newer coach, and I have a few athletes. How how do you learn the psyche of your athletes? Like, is it through biweekly calls? Like, how do you manage that? Because it's very hard. Obviously, you can get the data back, you can see who's doing the work, but how do you learn about your clients, especially managing a roster now? I
Yeah.
know that's probably a bit of an uphill battle, and constantly changing and fluctuating. But I guess from your perspective, like how have you been able to uh, implement the personal side of the coach athlete relationship?
You know, you're an athlete, correct?
Absolutely.
Chris, have you competed before?
Yes.
All right. So you
We
guys
actually met on
know
stage. We competed together in 23.
that's sick. See,
Yeah.
these look like these relationships, like the stuff that we talk about where nobody gets us except us. All right. Like that's like the bond. And that's what I'm going to translate into the same thing with my clients because nobody gets us except us, and I say that because I went through the same shit. Like I don't have we tend to feel the same emotions as bodybuilders, right? We feel body dysmorphia. Maybe some of us don't feel like we're going to be ready, right? And generally, a lot of that stuff tends to happen around the same time, right? So I think at this point in my career, not only based off my own experience, but doing it with other clients, I'm very good at being able to identify something that they might not even notice. So when it comes to, I guess, that deeper bond, the fact that I've been through it myself and utilize the experience that I've been through, like I said, all of the highs, all of the lows, and all of the emotions that come with that, I wasn't in a rush to get out of that feeling. The suck. I wasn't in a rush to get out of it because at that period, it taught me so much about myself that now I can take to help my clients as well. So hopefully they don't have to necessarily go through the exact same trials and tribulations that I went through, but they can still learn the lessons of what you would typically get from being in that. So that's what I try to do my best. I don't want necessarily them to get punched in the face, but I want them to see what it would happen, if X, Y, and Z didn't happen, and you get a little bit of a black eye, right? Like I almost want them to I want them to experience the highs and the lows without necessarily having the lows deter them from getting away from the best version of themselves.
I think in life, just like trauma in general, when you sit and you feel that and you embrace that, that's where you learn the most.
Yeah,
Like you took your heartbreak and that's when you found bodybuilding, but
exactly.
through working out, you like were able to work through a lot of those, lows.
Yep.
So that's a really good point. Was there any struggle or guilt when you stepped away from the sport? As you see like all these other Olympians step on stage, you're like, damn, man, I could have been there, or I should be there.
Yeah, man. When I stepped off stage in 2024 after the Olympia, and I saw Tyler Mannion, look me in my eyes and just look disappointed and didn't even give my feedback, right? Because he gave me the same feedback so many times. He didn't even say it again. He just said, you know what you got to do. You just got to do it, right? So when he gives you feedback like that, it justifies the fact that one, I need time. I can't step back on stage in front of Tyler Mannion and present a package that, again, isn't taking the advice that he's giving me. So that's one, right? I needed time. My body needed time. I'm 6'2". I need to fill out the frame. I'm sitting 20 plus pounds under the stage weight, just because I could step on the Olympia stage. That wasn't my goal. Right? I've been there before. It's an honor to be on that stage, but after a while, it's not
Well,
fun
not
just to
only have
be
you been
on
there, but you've
stage.
been top 15 before. So,
Exactly. So like my expectations are different than just stepping on the Olympia stage at this point in my life. So I'm not, put it this way. I would rather not compete at the Olympia, knowing if I knew, for example, I wasn't going to be in the top two callouts, than just step on the Olympia for the jacket at this point in my career, right? I've been blessed enough to do it twice. Like you said, I've been blessed enough to do pretty well, at my first one, but now I'm at a point now where I don't want to be any less than a second/first call out guy at this point. And I truly believe that's what my potential is, so why do myself a disservice, so I want to make sure I take the time. But of course, more importantly than that, it was the family side of things, man. I did things wrong for a very long time in my career, and it caught up to me. That's the reality of my situation. So when most people are continuously making, progress, I was living in a toxic state internally, body wise, that I just needed to give my body a break in order to, hopefully present the best version of myself come this year.
I feel like our bodies are constantly adapting. Our bodies are made to be
Yes.
stubborn and adapt, whether
Mhm.
it's food, PEDs, everything. I mean, we come from we've our bodies are made to migrate, right? Like hold food. That's why we can survive a couple weeks without food,
Mhm.
right? And just water. And I like if someone's like on 1,000 calories to cut and they're not losing weight, like what's left? I mean, what is
Yep.
there? At some point you have to get back to that midline, not in terms of like your psyche, but in terms of your body's whatever state, the normal homeostasis it's supposed to be in. And I know you've been very open about PEDs and it's like, well, at this point, like, what's there else to do? I'm training hard, I'm using PEDs like every other athlete, but maybe I just need to reset and let those receptors heal. Like, I mean,
So I'm gonna tell you guys something that I never put on online. I don't necessarily feel that sometimes it's safe as somebody who has a little bit of a influence to
right.
put exact numbers out there. But let's put it this way: if I'm living with on 700 mgs of trend on a consistent basis for an extended period of time, and I'm still not looking like I'm on anything, right?
Yeah.
You got to look at the signs. I I demanded a lot from my body. And it got to a point where my body, demanded time off. And I just had to listen to it, man. I pushed my body through extremes. I'm 29 years old, I'm relevantly young in the sport of bodybuilding, and my body was responding as if it was 50 plus years old. Shit,
Yeah.
there's 50 years old right
Yeah.
now in the sport looking better than me, right? So I just really needed to kind of humble myself a little bit more and not justify me continuously doing what I'm doing just because I can still win shows doing that.
Chris and I had a very opposite entrance into the sport. Like Chris started pretty heavy with PD usage, and I started completely natural. I did three shows completely natural. Um, for me, anyway, I mean, I wanted to learn the controllables first before I added anything into the mix. Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I could follow the meal plan, learn how to train properly, change from, training for performance and training for a look and aesthetics. And it's funny because we talk about the difference, and now we're kind of like meeting each other in the middle, right?
Yeah.
But we started off differently, and
Oh, that
it's funny
wasn't that
'cause-
wasn't willingly though. I was just following bad
yeah,
bad
yeah,
coaching advice. I
yeah.
didn't say one day, hey, let
No,
me
it wasn't
just
his choice. Yeah,
700. Yeah.
but yeah, it's funny because and he's even told me multiple times he's made more progress with less, and I
Yep.
have like my posing clients a lot of the time are newbies from other coaches that come to me, and I'm just curious like what they're on, and they give me this laundry list, and I'm just like, but you haven't even stepped on stage before. How do you know what even works for your body? And then I tell them what I'm on, and it's basically like bikini level dosages, and they kind of look at me like this wide-eyed, and I'm like, well, I mean, like obviously, like you're gonna get benefits quickly when you first introduce something anyway.
Yep.
But like if you're doing a lot on the PE side and you're skimping out on your meals or using it as an excuse to train sloppily, that's not gonna lead anywhere anyway. So it's just such an interesting and that's why I like when athletes like you are so open about it because I've noticed a shift in the sport lately to talk about blood work, to talk about,
Yeah.
protocols and be more open about it. And I'm really glad that's the direction the sport's going
Great.
because I don't think it's fake. Like I think athletes are truly understanding now that less can be more and it's
Yeah.
all about timing.
I take it I feel a responsibility to educate people
Yeah.
to do things the right way because I did things the wrong way, and this is a sport where if you do things the wrong way for long enough, you know
You'll
what
get
can happen,
trouble.
Yep.
right? So how can you not take it upon yourself to at least, if not educate as many people in your reach, educate the people around you,
Mhm.
right? So that's kind of what I did for myself. That's what I do for my clients. Like I said, I try to walk the walk so they don't necessarily
Yep.
to have to, right? And again, man, I love, like you said, I love the fact that there's a more of a health focus in the sport of bodybuilding right now. It's almost like a cool thing to get your blood work done and, be with a clinic or take X, Y, and Z in order to optimize health. I love that because that wasn't what it was back then, especially when I started.
I mean, even some open guys are talking about blood work more, but I would say I think specifically at least the beach divisions like men's
Yeah,
physique, bikini have been a little more like they find it cooler to take less and get those results. I think there's always going to be an element of heavier drug usage in the open division.
of course.
Um, but yeah, I mean, as far as and shifting towards like division itself, like the look, I mean, when I start, I my first show was in 2021, and now in 2026, I'm like, wow, like
I know.
it's crazy, and just thinking like what I could have done maybe at the NPC level in 2021 if I had this physique that I had now, and
Mhm.
it just in crazy where the division is going. And Chris, who was on yesterday, we were talking about Aaron and how he brought a slightly I guess softer look to Olympia. Like he's gotten a lot bigger, he's added size, but he wasn't as conditioned or detailed this
Yeah.
Olympia. And Chris said like I actually prefer that look. Like that looks more beach body to me. And then we started talking about like, well, how will the division ever change? Because how can you reward that physique if you have like an Ali or a Terry that's aesthetic with that dry hardness? Like, what is your perspective of where the division is now? And I mean, do you like it? And do you think, what do you think is the next step for the division?
I think Ryan Terry is the best men's physique athlete in the world. He represents the men's physique division. He's our
Agreed.
three-time Olympia champion, and I truly believe he represents the men's physique division. Now, that's the hardest thing about men's physique right now. Very similar to bikini. Like, what is the look? Right? Is there
Yeah.
even such thing as a look? Is there a such thing as a standard? Right? And I don't necessarily think there is. You know, obviously, selfishly, I Aaron Banks in 2022, I believe. Best version and best to me what I think mental physique should be, right?
I
It's
really
not
loved his last Arnold look, by the way. I did like
his
that.
last Arnold look was great, but
Yeah.
his 2022 packages were a different level of detail and separation that we've seen from him in, the most recent shows. Um, Aaron looks great, bro. I think Aaron is a guy who prioritizes, like he's rewarded based off of structure more than anything else. He has great density through the back, right? He's definitely brought up certain muscle groups that allows his physique to stand out in ways that it didn't in the past. But I don't think the trade-off was warranted, or better yet, the trade-off wasn't equal, right? I think he lost more by gaining than anything else, and I think if anything, if he can bring this size with the conditioning and the detail that he had before, then this is going to be our new champion. But we haven't been able to see that. And I don't think it's a lack of effort. I don't think it's a lack of coaching by any means, right? So when that's the case, the only thing you can take a step back and point to is what's different. He added more muscle, right? He added more size. And sometimes people's physique just naturally change when you add more size. You're never prepping the same person, especially when you add the amount of, density that he has in generally a shorter amount of time.
Well, I know some of the feedback from fans at least was, oh, he looks a little lanky, right? Because he's so tall. He's definitely not lanky anymore. I mean, the guy looks
No,
massive. And I mean, personally, I think he just needs more time to let it harden, like this new muscle to like, it's hard to, because every time you prep, right, you lose some of that newer muscle quickly, or you can't push it as hard as you want to maintain it. And I have to imagine it's probably hard. He's gained like a pretty noticeable amount of size in the past
yeah.
2 years specifically. I mean, if you were his coach, would you just tell him like sit out longer and just take a longer prep? Because he has, I mean, he doesn't need any more size. I mean, I can't imagine like that being an issue anymore, right? Like
His coach is my coach.
that's
So
true. That's true. Yeah.
if I had to, if I had to put it this way, I don't want to put it on Aaron, but if I had a situation with a current client of mine who was very similar to what Aaron Banks um,
Yeah.
was doing, first things first, I would not have a traditional offseason with Aaron. I would not put too much food in his stomach for an extended period of time consistently, right? It doesn't mean he doesn't need to grow that much more,
Yeah.
if really much at all. I would keep his stomach as tight as possible throughout. I don't know if he's taking GH. I'm not sure if he's taking insulin, but anything that could potentially protrude the midsection anymore, it's not even an option, right? Same thing with the high food. It's not an option right now, just because what's holding him back isn't necessarily just it's the lack of detail, but it's the lack of the detail because of the distension that's going on through his midsection, right? And we are in a time right now in men's physique where midsection is reigning supreme. So if you
Everything. Yeah.
just simply compare his physique from from most recent shows to 2022, right? Like, yeah, he's way bigger, but I personally think he looks better in 2022, right? So when you peel back the layers, size is awesome. We're all trying to grow, right? We want to be big as fuck. This is bodybuilding, but there is a point of diminishing returns, and I maybe, who knows what the factors may or may not be. But all I do know back in 2022, based off the data that we actually have, without speaking to him, his coach, right? Um, I just think that size push, threw some things off, and it added size everywhere, not just his shoulders, not just his chest, not just his back, but even
No,
his
his legs, yeah.
his legs are huge.
Huge, huge.
Huge.
I
That's
think his calf insertions throw people off because when you
yeah,
see his quads, it's like,
bro.
what the hell?
Yeah, Aaron gives a lot of the tall guys hope because as the sponsor, we sponsor him for the board shorts. When I've seen his legs press against the shorts, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this was not the case in the past. Like it's insane to see how much this man, and that speaks volumes on his ability to put the fucking work in, right? Like Aaron Banks is a guy with a lot of things on his plate, and he lives a full life, right? But
Right.
yet and still, he still put the work in the gym in order to make the physical progress, i.e., adding that tissue, right? So it speaks volumes with all the things that he has going on. He was still able to put the muscle on. I don't know how they put the muscle on. What I mean by that is I don't know what additive supplements they added in or what it might have been to help aid in that. But there was also some like I said, loss in the overall physique with the added this
It was also time too. Like he was gonna grow at some point. I always say I think the strongest drug is time and
I love
food,
that.
food and time. I mean,
I love that. People forget how young he is in the sport of bodybuilding in
was
itself.
he 37, 38?
Yeah, but that's not what I'm
Yeah.
referring to. It's more of, like I said, the sweat equity that he's put in the
Oh,
sport.
the time
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
sport. Got
he's
it. Got
yeah.
it.
It's not
Yeah.
long, bro. He's been doing it less time than I am,
Yeah.
So, with me being 29 and him like 30, whatever he is, it kind of speaks volumes of the fact that, maybe it's the same thing that happened to him just at a later date, right? He rushed it a little
Sure.
bit, he put so much density on tissue. He won the Olympia and he wants more, and he just feels that pressure and just pushes, 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 and then his body pushes back.
Do you
Is
think
this
Ryan?
where, as an athlete, you had
Yeah.
to like start creating boundaries for yourself?
In what aspect?
As like we're always chasing size, right? We can always be bigger and better, but at a certain point, there should be like a, hey, let's slow it
Yeah.
down. Essentially,
Um,
like how you're doing right now. You took a step back, had to
yeah,
reevaluate.
listen,
Now he's on that 400 grams of rice a meal.
bro, I'd never get used to that. But yeah, I would definitely say well, obviously my cycles are way less right, as of now compared to where they were. And I'll put it this way. I haven't hit a point now where, Cuts has ever given me or asked me to do something that I wasn't comfortable with. But my tolerance level for sure is a little bit lower in terms of I will not be putting my body through something that I don't feel comfortable putting my body through. Whether I'm in a prep, whether that can be the difference between, a first place and a second place. The reality is I will not take time out of my life in order to step on stage for a trophy. I love the sport of bodybuilding. I love covering the sport of bodybuilding, but I love my life even more.
Fortunate for you, you have so much going on in the
Yeah.
sport that you don't need to compete necessarily to either to enjoy the sport, to grow your brand. I mean, obviously you had to step on stage a number of times to get to where you are, but
Mhm.
now it seems like you have a bit more of a holistic role in the sport. And
Remember
would
when I
you say
said my
that's
why?
helpful? Like as stressful it is running multiple businesses, like does it also help you like take the folks off? Like, well, I'm not competing now, but I'm still getting shit done and making progress.
Yes. Now, do you remember when I said my why? Why's
Yeah,
changed.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
I'm not motivated based off of my breakup. When I was in high school, I don't or college, right? I don't care about. That's not my why, right? Um, I think right now my focus, my why, and this is why it's cool. When I took a step back this year, my identity was bodybuilding prior to that. My identity was bodybuilding, right? So when your identity is bodybuilding, like we talked about, the highs and the lows feel much different. It's a lot harder to ride the midline when you are bodybuilding. People know you, identify you as a bodybuilder. People don't just identify me as that anymore, right? So yes, it is easier to a small degree, but I have to look myself in the mirror to make sure I don't get comfortable. I have to call myself out to make sure I don't get comfortable, right? So I think really that's the biggest thing. I still love this shit. Like I love this shit. I love pushing myself. I love going to the gym and fucking myself up. When the foundation is that, you know, it's a lot easier to do bodybuilding. Like it's a lot
Yeah.
easier to wake up, eat the 400 grams of rice. It's a lot easier to, you know, go to the gym for however many time and be away from the family, right? It's a lot easier to do it when you simply have a fucking love for this shit. And I discovered that for myself again this year because again I thought stepping away, I was going to lose part of my identity, but I gained a broader perspective.
Well, from the outside perspective, it doesn't look like you're taking it easy for sure. And I know we were training next to each other at my 40 the other day, and let
Yeah.
me tell you, this guy is not retired by any means. He's
I,
he's pushing.
again, my foundation, before any of this, man, remember I told you I got my heartbreak. What happened? My
Yeah,
dad started going to the gym with me, and he taught me what it really is to train to failure. Right. I definitely got some injuries back, just throughout the years because maybe I trained like an asshole back in the day. But, my foundation is still intensity. My foundation, put it this way, my second nature, bodybuilding, it's easy to me because it is my second nature. Like it's a part of my identity. It's not who I am, but it's what I do. I built my
right.
life around being efficient for the sport of bodybuilding. And yes, that had to broaden a little bit because there's the businesses, wife's pregnant,
Yeah,
things like that. But my life is set up for me to be successful in bodybuilding. I hire people to allow me to do what I need to do. So when people think I have too much on my plate, think that. Meet me on stage.
it's funny. My interest in bodybuilding wasn't from a breakup. I entered just purely because I felt like I had more to give as an athlete. My running and hitting days were over. I've had 2 knee surgeries, and
Yeah,
I
I've
didn't want to
been.
waste any more time. I've always loved the gym more. I was the guy that's always have to practice back in the gym. Like I
Yeah.
was already a bodybuilder before becoming a bodybuilder. But
Oh yeah.
my true test, especially like relationship wise, was last year. And so my test kind of came mid-career or towards the end of career where it's like now it's actually elevated me even more last year and going into this year. It wasn't just that, it was a lot of things I went through, but I think it's funny. I think breakups are probably one of the more common, I guess,
Yeah.
motivators. I think the beautiful thing about bodybuilding is that there's no other sport that will teach you more about yourself than
True.
bodybuilding. And obviously, Chris has been through a breakup recently,
Mhm.
and I told him I was like, look, you're gonna get to the point where like it's not that it doesn't hurt, but it's going to turn into fuel as opposed to like feeling like poison. And he's gotten to that kind of point where he's starting to get the itch to get back to the stage. And I'm like, I bet you your physique's gonna be a lot better now that you went through
Yeah.
this.
A
It's
hundred
unfortunate you
percent.
had to go
Bro.
through it, but like,
Yeah, man. Trials and tribulations will truly show you who you are
yeah,
and what kind of man you are, how you respond to the adversity, right? Like, so I think that him, very similar to a lot of people who go through that, kind of ups and downs throughout their lives, they have an opportunity to, again, reset, recenter, and like you said, add more fuel to the fire. And it's not easy for some, men. Like I said, bodybuilding isn't for everybody. Emotionally, some people can't manage it, and I get it, right? But at the same time, for those who can, like you said, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. That's one. You're always going to come out a stronger person on the other side as you go through the ups and downs of a prep.
absolutely. It's I mean, I know Chris, like you've went through so much because Chris went through it. I'll let him speak for himself, but like that car accident was,
Oh shit.
yeah,
Okay, so I'm a retired police officer now. I got hit by another cop while chasing a robber, sustained a
Oh,
brain injury, had to bounce back from that. But I mean, it's just in those, like you said, in those low times is when you really find out who you are, you know. And that's something where I talk about a lot is how we identify ourselves. At that time, I was identifying myself as a police officer. That's who I was. That was, my life. But when that got taken away from me, it's kind of like you lost your identity. So you had to like push that to the side. And you said something that stuck with me. It's like, yeah, bodybuilding is not your identity, but it's a part of who you are.
yeah.
And you just gotta learn how to separate that
Yeah,
and
man.
that being present and you know those constant reminders. I have a daughter, she's the reason why I keep on, moving forward and
Oh yeah.
pushing forward. So
Hey,
so
Chris.
is those things.
I know it's not in the military, but brother, thank you for your service.
Oh, I was in the military too.
Oh, you
I was,
were?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you for your service two times.
Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you for your appreciation.
Of course,
But
man.
you're yourself. Making manifest the brand, like what was the idea behind that? Because I know there was probably some big thought process because there
Okay.
wasn't a lot of board short companies at that time.
Yeah, man, you're
And
right. Obviously, as a competitor, I wear board shorts, right? So, the reality came down to I ordered a bunch of shorts, for shows, um, and I realized I didn't like any of them. They didn't fit right. The material wasn't right. Um, it felt like a product that was in a space, a successful. I don't want to speak on any specific brands, but there were a handful of brands that managed to capitalize on a market that had no standard. So therefore, a product with no standard and no true competition, um, they're going to be able to get away with a lesser product to make more money.
mhm,
So when I decided to make Manifest, the first thing I said, I don't want to spare a single expense. I want to choose the highest quality possible, whether that means we make less money. So that's what we did. And the product spoke for itself. The brand grew because of the product. Obviously, we had hand in it, but you got to realize we just had our most successful year ever without me competing, without, what previously drove a lot of the marketing was no longer necessarily there. Obviously, still eyeballs and things that I do, but there was just a hole in the market that I wanted to fill with simply a good product. Men's physique board shorts for men's physique athletes, right? A lot of the other people out there, they just make a product without necessarily knowing, what the athletes want. Yeah, they might talk to them. I get that, but I think there's a clear distinction between the quality in our products versus the competitors.
Right,
and
because
and this
Chula
is not
wasn't
a glaze
founded
here.
as
This is not a glaze. I love your shorts.
Thank
I
you.
do too. Yeah.
The material, it just feels comfortable when you have it on, as
Yeah.
opposed to other shorts. It feels like you're wearing like bed sheets, like a cheap thread count
You
of bed sheets.
you hit the nail on the head. Like that's the best way to describe sometimes other shorts, and again, I don't want to sound like that guy, the owner who, but like I said, there was a hole in the market and we just simply filled it with a
Hey,
quality
Alex, the
product.
same way as competing, like you want to beat the other guy, you want to beat the other brands, and that's totally fine.
Oh, bro, don't
Because
hold on. Don't get it twisted.
because
Don't get it twisted.
honestly,
Talk your shit. Talk your.
brands
Listen.
brands need to accept competition because that's how brands
Yes.
elevate.
Oh, exactly.
Sony versus Nintendo, like all these brands, like if there's no competition, you're gonna have a monopoly, like you just said. And like so Chula, like which isn't even a men's physique founded brand, right? Like Chula is not a men's physique athlete. Kind of had a monopoly here. I know there's a few Asian companies, but like
Yeah.
being realistic, Chula, I actually used to use Alpha Elite shorts back in the
Mhm.
day,
Yeah, me
you
too.
know, and actually, your material reminds me a lot of the Alphalete shorts. It's just the Alphalete shorts just never fit right. They were too boxy,
Yep.
too long, too big, and I just was like, I wish they had more of a shape of like a Chula, and I wish Chula had their fabric. And then I put your shorts on, and it's kind of like a hybrid, and
Yeah.
that's I think what's making it really pop and work.
Yeah, I agree, man. And not to mention we take feedback from other people. Like you got to realize there's pros with being a younger company. We can adapt, we can hear what the audience wants, we can hear what our people want. And with that, we can give that to them relatively, quickly. So we've been able to capitalize on a lot of momentum based off of feedback that we've gotten from people like you guys,
Yeah.
wearing the shorts, right? And again, I think that's another hand in our success.
Although I
Again,
appreciate you taking like when I sent you the voice note, like and
yeah,
not taking it as criticism and just like this is feedback because like I told you I'm gonna keep wearing your shorts
yeah,
regardless. It's just I'd rather not have to go to like a Russian
ex-
specialist to get it tailored and use Google Translate to
yeah,
freaking
yeah,
get it
yeah.
done. Like it was crazy. Like I couldn't even talk to her. I had to explain. I was just like, I hope this gets done because it's peak week. But
That pain point will be fixed
yeah.
in Q2 of this year.
Because I know, like Dorian, for example, is a slightly taller athlete,
Yep.
and I was like, damn, like they fit well on him, and I know it's probably just a height thing because the waist feels great, and
Mhm.
it's not that hard. I can see you guys fixing that pretty quickly, and that's probably I mean, I don't really have any much more feedback than that. I mean, they're pretty great shorts. Like,
Yeah, and I will say the only pain point that I currently have are more for people who are a little smaller in like height, stature, like height, right?
right.
That's
Yeah.
the only thing. So, with that pain point, like you said, I'm not, when it comes to business coaching, when it comes to content creation, when it comes to manifest, whatever it is, find a pain point, fix a pain point. That is business. If you are not doing that, then you are stagnant because you will always be able to find a pain point in your business, whether it's customer service, whether it's quality, whether it's whatever, right? So when you message me that, right, that's a pain point, right, for maybe one person at that time, but I can guarantee other people are having the same pain point. They're just not
Right.
voicing, right?
Right.
So there's something that we pay very close attention to, right? So again, when you message me, it's like, hey, I got to make sure that our class A guys are taken care of,
Well, Class B right now, and I might actually be going.
Well,
I might be going to Class C. I actually have I have back surgery in 11 days, and
damn.
I'm
You
probably gonna
good?
gain at least an inch. So,
Oh shit.
well, I have pretty bad scoliosis, and
Uh-huh.
I have pretty busted discs. And I'm actually in like a lot of nerve pain right now, and it's just getting to the point
Shout
where
out to you, bro.
I'm 35. I'm like, okay, this is the strongest I'll ever be to go into a surgery and recover. I'm on TRT now. I found the best surgeons do it. They actually operate through the side in this procedure, so they're not going to be cutting through back tissue. And
Yeah.
I'll actually be back in the gym in 4 weeks. It's pretty incredible, like how minimally invasive they are now. And I spoke to a former or a current pro. His name is Casey Dunn. He goes by Casey Christopher on Instagram. You might have seen him. He competed. He got his pro card. I believe it was at Universe years ago, and he had the same procedure with the same doctor. And
Wow.
so I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Man, that changed my life." And that was all I really needed to hear was a guy that's doing the same sport as me, competed pro after the surgery, and he's like, "Look, man, like you're in an aesthetic sport, and this is gonna make your taper even better. Because if I'm in like an accordion that's like squished a little bit, it's obviously changing my hip structure and my overall taper." So I'm like,
Yep.
get rid of the pain and improve my structure. That's all I needed to hear. I
Yeah,
was like,
man.
I'm in.
I'm
It's
telling you, like in life, like when you're in pain in life like that, bro, trust me, like I've played sports in my life.
yeah.
I've had so many surgeries that allowed me just to naturally feel better, more comfortable in my
And
body.
I'm with Ben now. Ben's my
Mhm.
coach, and I've had previous coaches that have made me feel bad or gaslit me about having an injury, because I think sometimes coaches think, oh, that's just complaining, when in fact, like, no, I'm doing everything you tell me to do. I'm in pain doing it, and
Yeah, yeah,
I was always afraid to tell them I was thinking about a surgery because I think those kinds of coaches, they hate having to be patient with their athletes. They get excited when their athletes at a certain point and they don't want to slow down. And I remember Ben messaged me and was like, "Go get it done. Like it's going to help you out." And that was all I needed to hear. And that was one of probably the biggest indicators that I was with the right coach.
yeah. Listen, bro, you hire the coach, period. You pay the coach. And if that's the case, they work for you. Like I'm a coach myself. Obviously, there needs to be mutual respect there, right? If a client comes to me and talks crazy, it's a whole different conversation, but they pay you, or well, you pay them, depending on how you're looking at it.
Yeah.
So with that situation, I don't, no client should ever feel hesitant to try to get what they're paying for, right?
Yeah.
That was a serious situation, right? If you're sitting
Yep.
here in pain continuously, that's going to come back and bite you in the ass eventually. All right.
Yep.
And that's a medical concern. So anybody watching, if you have a pain point with any
Get it
coach
fixed.
or you're hesitant to communicate with them, then you might not be with the right coach.
And I'm going to be sharing more about it because, and I'm going to use this time, 4 weeks out of the gym, which to me feels like an eternity. It's not that long, but I want to motivate other people that have, things they need to get fixed, whether it's back or not. Like I connected with Rachel Daniels over back because she had her entire back fuse, like old
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
school back in the day. And look at her, she's put the best poser in the league. So I know it. I went through the most turmoil when I felt, or the most anxiety when I felt like I was alone or this was going to be the end of my career. And what helped me was seeing other athletes that have gone past it. And I want to be that for other athletes too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and really use myself as like a case study. Like, no, like if you have a back problem or something, it's 2026. Like there's very good doctors out there, and you don't need to live in this pain. Because I think a lot of people suffer silently. We're in a social media world where it's like highlight reel, highlight reel, highlight reel. Man, like it's got to be hard for someone that's living through pain and they're afraid to slow down, right? Oh man, I just got all these likes, all this traction. Well, guess what? You
Take,
can also get injury can be the best content hub ever, by the way.
it could,
So,
man. Take a step back in order to take multiple steps forward.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Ooh, you got the Wawa Cup?
I was about to say this is not sponsored by Wawa, but I hope it should be. I went out specifically for your episode. I get it usually, but like I was like, well, today is definitely a Wawa day.
You're a legend, bro.
I don't
Oh
know
my
how
God.
they haven't sponsored you yet.
You
I
know,
I
it's
mean,
funny because they sent me a massive care package that was like with all of this gear and stuff. And then they invited me to come to um Hoagie Fest, which is in Miami every single year. So they do like this whole big, like almost looking
wow.
like a carnival kind of thing. So it's funny, their corporate paid attention, which is cool. So anybody out there, don't be scared to post your
You need
content.
a Wawa Manifest shorts with this pad.
Damn, a collab would be
I'm
wild.
only half kidding about that.
Oh man.
Well, what, by the way, injury wise, like what's the biggest injury you've had?
Oh, brother. I played football my whole life, so it's hard not to name one. I've gotten surgeries every single year of my life, starting from high school. I've torn my right shoulder, I've torn my left shoulder, I've then went back and torn my right shoulder again. Then my left shoulder, I had an AC joint separation, which I didn't get surgery on.
I had that too. That
But
sucks.
that hurt probably more than anything. I tore my ACL. And my meniscus and my PCL all at the same time. That recovered, came back, tore my meniscus again.
Hmm.
I tore my, for those of you who might know, jersey finger, if you play football. They say it happens when you like, grab onto a jersey sometimes, but I tore a ligament in my finger.
Was it like that
Um,
drop finger, like your like finger
yeah,
like was down?
yep, yep,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So I was like this for a while. I still like, even if I try to finish straight, it's always going to have that like natural curve to it. Um, then little things like I broke my toe and shit like that. But football has definitely beaten me down.
I tell people
And
all
then,
the
and
time.
then I tore my meniscus again, 2 days, 3 days out from the New York Pro.
I've gotten pretty much all my injuries from lacrosse and not bodybuilding.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
funny.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, but
Bodybuilding,
you can train
like,
around it though with bodybuilding, which is the beautiful thing about bodybuilding, you know.
yes, you got to be creative a little bit, and you got to try to put your ego aside and listen to your body because it's not easy for us to do that. But yes, bodybuilding has definitely made the injuries worse, but they didn't start the injuries.
I did some PRP injections, my AC joint, and that definitely
Mm.
helped. Um,
I think they say PMA. You know what that is?
yeah.
What's PMA? I'm missing out.
I have to, so, Chris,
It's
basically there's this huge
yeah.
controversy in the sport about Natalie Coelho, who's the women's physique champion,
Yeah.
and she allegedly used PMA injections.
It's basically
Yeah.
Is it synthol? Like what the?
it's not synthol, but it's very similar to it. Does the very similar things. So I don't think it's categorized as like a site. I don't know if it's a site enhancement. I don't know if it's considered that, but it basically does things very similar. I don't think it's banned, but
It
it's
goes in
very,
the muscle, right?
yeah, it's very frowned upon.
For me, personally, I think I know some people say, well, bodybuilders use drugs, they do all these things, but I feel like if you're using something that you don't have to train to allow it to improve you, I think that's where the line draws. Like if you were to inject testosterone or any of these things, like well, testosterone would help, but like you're not going to get that much better if you don't do anything. Like it's just not like the whole
Yeah,
benefit. You still have to train hard and do everything that we're doing, eat right. If you're doing an enhancement injection where literally after the injection you're better and you look better, that to me personally is where I would draw the line. But what's your view on it?
yeah, I agree. I'm not.
But how do you test that? How do you like say, okay,
Well,
yeah, that's
that's where it gets hard, you know.
But that's what they're saying right now because it's not something you test for unless you put under a MRI. So that's where obviously the judges have to make a decision on if they think it's something, are they going to act on it? Because what if it's not, right? So it definitely puts the sport in a weird situation, I guess you could say.
I it would have to go retroactive, right? Like where
They would have to do like an
or
MRI and then
maybe the way they do natural shows where they test the winners, right? So like or test I think they test everyone for natural shows, but you could
Mhm.
do like if you win the Olympia, you're gonna get an MRI after or something. Like at least that would maybe deter people and that's cost effective, right? You only have to do X amount of tests.
but how much would that be on the sport? You're sending the winners all to get MRIs.
I mean,
Well,
I think the sport's making enough money now that they could afford to do an MRI for like, each division's winner,
yeah,
but
man, I don't know. I think that's just a sticky situation.
it is.
MRIs, I know we all look at MRIs as very simple, but there's also things that come with MRIs. So,
Yeah.
that could be a medical thing.
Yeah.
Say somebody gets hurt in an MRI or they get cancer after an MRI, they can easily blame, that.
Bodybuilding, yeah.
Yeah,
Lawsuit.
and
The NPC.
yeah, so it's just a little bit of a
Or
legal headache, I'm sure.
So Alex, I want to get your opinion on the upcoming Arnold. And we
Let's go.
have a stacked class, especially like the top 5 or 6 guys. And it's really interesting. I'm gonna pull up the roster again.
these are way too early predictions, by the way, because
Way too early
anything could happen from here to
predictions.
March.
And by the way, this is the beautiful part of the sport is that it's subjective, right? But I always say like if you're gonna make an opinion, just back it up with some rationale. What are your thoughts?
All right, so how do you want to do this? Do you want to do like a top five? Do you want to
Let's
just
do a top five, just
Well,
for
it's yeah, we can do top 5. Yeah.
all right. All right. Ooh, let's lose some followers here, fellas.
Yeah. Win some
All
friends,
right.
maybe. Win some friendships and
Your 2025 or 2026
six.
Arnold
way too early Arnold prediction.
last. Yeah, by the way, this there's a good chance this might change. I'm just giving you guys heads up. You might have to tune into NPR for that one. But your
Definitely will.
2026 Arnold Classic champion is none other than Andre Dayu. I truly believe that Andre Dayu, and listen, Andre Ferguson has given me the advice to stop trying to think like like take a step back and stop thinking of what they've done in the past. Let's just look at the physiques, right? Let's look at the physiques. I think Andre Dayu has the most complete physique. Okay, most complete physique in this lineup. Now, Edvan Palmeiro is very close to that. Okay, but if I had to guess, I have Andre Dayu winning the 2026 Arnold Classic champion. And then I have Brandon Hendrickson. Then I have Edvin Palmeiro. And then I think this is where the battle becomes between like Vitor Chavez, Emmanuel Hunter, and Ben. But if I had to lean, I would have to say Vitor. And then, believe it or not, I have Ben and then Emmanuel Hunter.
Yeah.
I listen, I think Ben has some of the highest potential in men's physique. I think he's just one of those people who needs more time. And he's already proven that with time, he's continuously shown to improve. So, with that, I just think that he's going to be one of those guys that's very hard to stand next to in the next. It's already hard to stay next to now, but in terms of like
Yeah.
the top, conversation, he's going to be very hard to stand next to in the
He's
next.
already started to fill out that frame too.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I see him enough to see like,
Yeah.
that this guy is in danger. It's like
I think
shit.
he's got one of the best upper chests in the league. Personally, I
Who?
think Ben. I think his upper chest is crazy. And he's got that very capped round front delts, and he's got that shelf to him. I think obviously the Achilles heels, he's got that divot in the lower pecs, but he's got a very aesthetic core and a very very small waist, and his back is certainly not weak. So he's pretty complete. I thought he told me he thinks his hurricane look was the best. I really thought his Sasquatch was his best look. I personally had him over Buendia. I thought he looked great. I thought he was peaked perfectly. He was full. He was conditioned. Obviously in Olympia, it looked like he spilled over a little bit, like very full. But
We
we
were
also
at
don't.
Hurricane. We were at Hurricane, right?
Yeah, we were there. He looked great. I just thought he looked a little better at Sasquatch, but they were both good looks.
You know, so Ben and I are like brothers, bro. We argue like little kids sometimes. And we got into a little bit of a debate about, what I personally think his best look was compared to the Hurricane when I was there, right? I don't think Hurricane was his best look personally. I think he's had better showings even in that year in itself. But it speaks volumes that Ben can go to his show. And what I personally believe, again, I'm not a judge and I'm not Ben, right? But I personally believe wasn't his best look, and still win shows. All right. So that speaks volumes on what Ben and his potential can be. I mean, look at this shit. Is this recent?
See, this what I'm talking about right here.
One day ago, yeah.
This very
Yeah.
top, this upper shelf he has is
Mhm. You've given me a little bit of a different perspective, because I think when people think Ben and chess, they see incomplete. But you are right. It's definitely one significantly more full. I don't know if it just got done training chest or not, because that looks way bigger than I've seen him in the past.
it's like the way it rolls into his front delts too.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah.
even.
I'm
Um,
telling you, man. I'm telling you guys right now. You guys are gonna fucking laugh, or people out there might, but I truly believe Ben is a guy who can win the Olympia one day. He has a beautiful structure. He's
I agree with that.
complete from front to back. Um, he has that clean men's physique look, man. He has a small waistline. He's crazy detail. He's the best poser, in men's physique, right? There's all of these things that I think that Ben has going for him. And with all of that being said, he's still dramatically under his weight cap. So imagine that's a look with just 5 pounds more muscle.
I was like, "Why are you so serious, bro?" When he was at the Olympics, he was not smiling.
I don't know. I honestly, I like that shit.
I
It's
thought it
it's
looked great. I just know that I think sometimes the judges don't for it, but like he looked so serious, especially in the comparisons.
Yeah. Oh,
But
okay. You know what's funny, bro? Sometimes we don't even realize we're doing that. When I was on stage at the New York Pro, I had the most
but I like that. Why do we have to smile all the time? Like, let's be serious. Like, let's go out and
yeah,
chase some necks. Like,
Cause,
why
cause,
not? Like,
cause it's a like a we're in
pretty
board
boy.
shorts. We're supposed to be pretty, you know?
Man, fuck their expectations of us.
this look to me was I still think my favorite look of his,
That
but
was a clean look.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was a
Look,
great look.
That was a
I had him over Buendia. Buendia looked. The thing is, like, I feel like the this is where maybe
one.
politics came into play, but like Buendia, if he came in Pete's, I think they were gonna give it to Buendia. I think they were gonna let Buendia decide if he's gonna win or not. If Buendia didn't come on, then Buen was gonna win that. But
Yeah, yeah. Listen,
yeah,
listen. I think Ben should have won the show. I'm just gonna leave
yeah.
it.
He was robbed. We could call it. We could
Yeah,
call it.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think Ben should have won the show.
so with Diu though, the only thing about Diu is, well, one, he did improve his posing
Yeah,
dramatically, which has helped so much, especially his back pose. But he does have a slightly wider waist, and I feel like
you think so?
slightly, well, then compared to like a Ben, right?
Okay, well, yeah, yeah. Compared to a
Like
Ben,
he's
for
got to
sure.
contort it a lot to really, but I just feel like it's he's got. I feel like his biceps dominate his triceps. I feel like maybe he doesn't flow quite like some of the other guys, but he obviously has a lot of mass and he's got a great look for men's physique. And
Okay, then who do you have winning the Arnold?
I, I still think if B Henny shows, if he keeps doing what he's been doing, like we were all waiting to see what B Henny looked like when he came back from that hiatus. I think B Henny will still pull it off, but I have DU in second. I think, just the way this is
So you
where
have Andre Dayu over Edvin Palmeiro?
I have been over Ed Vaughn. Because all right,
Ooh.
and I'll defend it. I'll defend it. I love Ed Vaughn's physique. I think he will be. He has that freak factor. He has that crazy detail, crazy dryness. But if you look at his physique, his very arm dominant. He's got very high pecs and is very torso dominant. And I feel like it doesn't show, like he doesn't have that cap to his shoulders. If I'm looking at shape, it's just not really there for men's physique. Like his silhouette can't really compete with a Behenny or Ben silhouette. Where Ed Vaughn's thing is his conditioning and dryness is just so crazy and
Nutty,
eye
yeah.
popping. But when you really break it down, you look at the silhouette, like his pecs are very high and his obliques and just his again his conditioning stands out. But if you're looking at men's physique shape and based on the criteria, I'm gonna stick with a B Henny, a Ben all day, and a Dio over him as well. But again, I wouldn't be shocked if he placed as high as second because I mean this is where probably Andre Ferguson would yell at me, but like historically we see him get promote or benefited from the judges based on that kind of look before. So
All right. I
it's
just want to make I just wanted to make sure that you backed it up with facts. I'm
Oh,
not
back it
gonna
up.
argue with you. That's
My
fine.
dark horse, by the way, for not a win, but a good placing is Barack Ozgul.
I agree. I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Man, that guy's physique is
Healed.
like he's just very complete. Like his back to front, he's got the look. Um,
We got to get him to manifest.
you do for sure. I mean, he
Okay.
I wanted to give him on the pod, but he was like, "Yeah, my English isn't good enough." But
Let me ask you this then. Chris, let me ask you this. Emmanuel Hunter,
He's
coming
he's
off of,
he's in my top five.
okay, coming off of consecutive fourth place finishes at the Olympia, and then fell back to what I believe was all I know was out of the top 10. With that being said, what does this Arnold mean for him, like in your eyes?
Well, just mentally, if I think he needs to be up there because if not, then what
Would it,
for
okay,
for any athlete, your confidence is gonna diminish. What happens when your confidence is low?
yeah. What does up there mean though? Like this is a guy who's been fourth place in the world. He's beaten every single guy on the stage, maybe other than Brandon Hendrickson.
But that's the thing, right? I still think a top five finish is a win.
No, I think that's a loss for him, brother.
no, he
Yeah.
needs to be top three, I think.
Yeah, like again, I'm not saying a top five at the Arnold isn't impressive. Like let's be real here, right? But I'm saying for Emmanuel Hunter, a guy who has been top four in the world. So now we're
But
talking
he
about
just
him
you just say he came off a second call out at the Olympia. So
exactly. So
I'm
where's that
I,
momentum?
I I get what you're saying. I
Right?
agree. So a top three for him,
I think what I'm saying is I don't think he will be, but
he needs to be.
yeah, I think for a guy who's been in the top four at the Olympia, not just once, um, it's big for him to be back in that top conversation. He doesn't need to win, right? But he does need to, one, bring in a physique that's gnarly, right? He needs to bring a physique that is like, okay, even if he doesn't win, he's back, right? Like he lost to just guys who were better, right? And that's fine, but he didn't lose because he wasn't on, right? He lost at the Olympia because he wasn't on. So now I want to see an on version of him. Wherever that puts him, if he's on, there's no way he's not top three. There's no
Yeah,
way.
I think the hard thing is he just got married, and so it like I think it could
Mm.
help him because maybe mentally he's even in a better spot because he's married, doesn't have the stress of the wedding coming up anymore. But maybe he's also his focus a little shifted, which wouldn't be a
Maybe.
negative, right? Like that's fully warranted. It's just a guy that's, and I love E-Man. He's been on the pod. Like I support him. I think he's got a great physique. I just worry about his one flaw has been his consistency with his peak. And so with a wedding, that's like it could help him. It could maybe make it take him a little longer to get back to that peak. Who knows? But he's got a great coach, and I think crazy chest like Ben, a very good upper shelf, crazy vascularity. It's just I think his core gets a little washed out sometimes under the lights. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just because they're not deep enough or the complexion, the skin color. I don't know what it is, but he's got a great shape and an incredible back. It,
Alex, are you married?
I'm single, no.
Chris?
I'm in a relationship.
Pseudo married.
So if you don't know, a good girl can turn a prince into a king.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yep.
All right. So I don't know his significant other by any means, right? But what I do know is she's also in the sport. She's a pro herself. I personally think if you were only judging it based off of the wedding and, having that added layer of, being a husband, responsibility, right?
Yep.
I think that that's going to make him better. I think he's a prince. I think that we're going to see if he can become a king.
Hmm.
All right. So Emmanuel Hunter is one of my favorite guys in men's physique. I think he's one of the most underrated guys in men's physique. I think he's one of the most underappreciated guys in men's physique, but it doesn't change the fact that, when you're there, up there, your expectations are different.
Yeah,
Now that you've taken a stumble back a little bit, this next opportunity on a massive stage can right that wrong very quickly.
I feel like the one here who's probably gonna miss out on a higher placing is maybe Vitor. I just think
Mm.
I think Vitor is he's very bubbly, but he's just not very sleek. You know, like he doesn't have in a lineup with guys like Ben, Behenny, and Diu, where it's like a very pretty boy look. I think he's gonna struggle
It's
because
unique.
like I feel like if E-Man is on and Edvon are on, if those two are on, they have like the bubbliness and size to compete with a Vitor. And that I just think
Did Vitor have visa issues? Was it him or
Um,
something that they stole his
oh,
yeah,
his past. Yeah, 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 yeah. He was on the airplane. He
yeah,
lost his documents.
and then he couldn't
Yeah,
compete or something.
yeah, correct.
So I think a high placing for him is just as, warranted in
He
this as
competed.
well.
He competed at the Olympia.
Oh, he competed at the
yeah.
Olympia? Okay,
I
I
think
forget
this is
what
more
show.
do or die. I think it's more important for E-Man to place high than Vitor right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I 100% agree. 100% agree.
But
I think listen, I think Brandon Hendrickson, this is where it is most interesting. You know what? I'm going to say it because nobody else is going to say it. So I don't give a fuck.
love that.
Let's be real. Who the fuck is he dating? Or better yet, who is his ex dating?
Well, she's married now.
She's married. Yeah.
It's
No, no,
crazy.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
To
She,
who?
she
that's what
so,
I'm trying to figure out, man. I
No, no, no.
randomly
Hold
she came
on.
up.
We're not on
Yeah,
the same page. We're not on the same page. I don't want to get down his love life. I don't give a fuck about that. Um, he was once with somebody who is now with somebody else. We're
yes,
just going to put that down. We don't need to
yeah,
put names on it.
yeah.
That person has a lot of say. That person will have a lot of say at the Arnold Classic. So therefore, I'm not going to say politics, that. But all I do know is this: Brandon Hendrickson is looked at a little bit differently from that perspective. This man is slightly incomplete. That's the reality of his physique. He is the best front shot in men's physique. It is better than Ryan Terry's. The best front shot in men's physique. Period. One of the worst back shots in the Olympia.
In the entire Olympia, you think?
Bro, no, just again, I think sometimes people think that I don't like Brandon. He might not like me. I don't care. But what I'm saying is he is still an incomplete bodybuilder. How can you be the best in the world being incomplete? That's just my
I think
perspective.
every one of these guys we just spoke about is incomplete though, for a different reason, right? And it's just a matter of like who has the lead. Like with Ben, it's his lower chest, right? But he's
No,
got
that's different though. That's different. When I say incomplete, like you can have smaller chest compared to shoulders,
you mean like an
right?
entire back shot is incomplete, meaning like half
yeah.
his physique is incomplete.
He's saying because we only have two shots,
Yeah,
You
front and
have two
back.
shots in men's physique, right? Like I just personally think that without getting too much energy behind it, he's slightly incomplete. And in this lineup of guys who's complete, that could be that could expose him. Now, will his front shot carry him through? Maybe. We've seen it happen. We've seen it with Drew. Drew has one of the most elite front shots in personally what I think, at least a top 15 front shot in men's physique.
yeah, but
So
back.
yeah, exactly. But he's still being able to win shows. But can you win the Arnold Classic? I don't want to compare their backs. I don't know, but can you win the Arnold Classic with an incomplete back?
But now this is where
But he's
politics
won.
plays
But
in,
well,
right?
look how well he's done with that
Okay,
incomplete back.
you know what? You're
Like
right. Should you win the Arnold Classic with an incomplete back? You
No.
judge 50% of a physique, front and back, and you are the lowest out of this entire lineup. He probably has the worst back. So when
all
you
right,
look at
let me
it,
ask you a somewhat related question in a different light, though. If you had to redo how bodybuilding was judged or men's physique was judged, personally
mhm,
for me, I would have it where I don't know if you've ever watched gymnastics like at the Olympia, where they basically have out of 10, but for different reasons, right? Like difficulty, execution, right? But for bodybuilding, like, why don't we do like a 1 out of 10 for front shot, 1 out of 10 for back shot, 1 out of 10 for posing routine, and then use those to kind of merge them together and actually have some kind of structure into how we grade them.
yeah, I mean, I think it would be a lot easier. I think people would understand what they need to work on a little bit more clearly. I agree. I think judging right now is more based off of, I don't like saying subjectivity too much, but I just feel like there's, two people can have people in first place, or two judges can have Brandon Hendrickson in first place for the completely opposite reasons,
For sure.
right? Like, how does that make sense? right? Like there needs to be a little bit more flow. When I think of men's physique, I think structure first, I think conditioning second, I think muscularity, right? So that's personally how I look at this, and I do think Brandon has a great structure. I think obviously he's crazy, crazy good conditioning. I think his musculature from the front is on point. He's just incomplete from the back. That's it. So if you want to say he is the most conditioned, he is the best structure or good enough structure to win, and he has enough muscle from the front and it's enough to cover the back, justified. But I just want to see that consistent throughout, the remaining of the judging criteria because this is the Arnold Classic,
Well,
right?
I
The
do
big
I
show.
I do think his reign is going to be near to over. I think he probably only has like another season or two left. It seems like he's pretty interested in his brand in general and he doesn't need
Yeah.
bodybuilding to grow his brand anymore.
People forget.
So
People
I
forget, man. He hinted at retirement
yeah,
multiple times.
whereas I think like a guy like Ben will be a top three Olympian sooner than later. I think Brock Old School will be a top 10 Olympian sooner than later. I think Edvon will stay in that top six range for quite a while. And then I think Diu is going to be a consistent top six Olympian as well. I think Ben has a slightly higher ceiling than Diu. I just think right now
Dio has a more
He has a
complete.
lot of momentum. He's fixed his posing. He's showing us something new, and he's got that look and he's got a huge brand, which look, it's a subjective sport. If you say subjectivity doesn't like if these things don't have a role in it, I feel like it's impossible not to. Um, but yeah, I think it's a great lineup. I'm pumped for it. I'm going to be going to the UK one to go support Ben. Chris and I are
Really?
gonna
That's
yeah,
dope, bro. That's
Chris and
dope.
Chris John and I we're gonna fly out. Um, even though his last name isn't John, I love still calling him Chris John. It's- um,
Well,
but yeah,
gentlemen, I hate to cut loose, but I gotta head out for
sorry,
for
Chris. You
the
have a good
event.
dinner. We'll wrap up soon.
All
All
right,
right,
brother.
gentlemen.
Have a
Hey,
good one.
Alex, it was nice meeting you and talking to you,
Nice
brother.
meeting you, brother.
But yeah, Alex, we're gonna head out to the UK. And that it's gonna be a fun trip. Ben hasn't been there. Chris hasn't been there. I lived there, so I'm gonna.
That's what I love about Ben. He uses the sport of bodybuilding to become so cultured in life. I wouldn't have went to Ben. I wouldn't have went to India if it wasn't for Ben, right? So, I love that about him. He uses bodybuilding to culture himself and experience things. And I definitely push a lot of people to do that if they have the opportunity to.
Absolutely, I know I believe he's still planning to do Japan. But that's just a lot of travel though, earlier in the year. But I mean, Ben is also used to traveling because I feel like of all the coaches, I see him hands on there for his athletes.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen an Olympian travel quite as much as Ben. I mean, he's there with his gloves
I
on,
agree.
putting the tan on himself, and that's one of the reasons why I chose to work with him. But I think like guys like you and Ben are the new wave of coaches. And I think it's really exciting because you guys are still athletes and you're showing that you can compete and coach at the same time. If anything, it probably is like a superpower because you know what is going through that athlete's mind on the day. Whereas
1,000%.
we've also seen a lot of older coaches in the game that maybe starting to lose their grip a little bit. They have such a big roster. Maybe they're a little outdated. They're a little bit too far from the sport now, too far removed from the sport. It's gonna be very interesting how the coach's game changes, especially, now we have a new fit model. I can only imagine they're gonna add a men's division soon. Personally, bro, I feel like men need an entry level division even more than the girls because
Really?
we have an aesthetic look, but it's not a natural look. Like
No.
we're creating a V. Like that's like if you look at a beach body, it's a little bit more natural. Like yeah, you have the abs and everything, but this isn't a beach body anymore. This is a bodybuilder, just a slightly smaller bodybuilder. I mean, if you look at how big we have to grow our lats, our delts, it's every time I go home to my family and they're like, what's going on here? Like you're growing
Yeah.
this way. So I think it takes guys a long time to build on the mass that they need now. Like, whereas I've seen girls go into divisions like athletic lacrosse girls, whatever it is, if they can nail their conditioning, they can get decently far at the amateur level. I'm not saying that they didn't deserve an entry level position or they don't need one. I support Fit Model. Personally, I would have waited another year to hand out pro cards until they really knew what they were looking for.
I agree.
That was my only, I guess, like negative save for it, but I'm all for it. But I feel like where men's physique is now, where you have, put it this way, you have men's physique guys throwing on classic shorts and winning overalls in both classic and men's physique. Can you imagine if you had a girl winning women's physique and bikini at the same show?
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you need to like. So I would love to see an entry level for the guys. There's only three divisions, well, four for 212, but I think that'd be exciting. I think men's physique has gotten to that point now where it deserves to not just be the entry level anymore.
Listen, I can look at things from a business perspective, and I can look at things from I don't want to say practical, but bear with me. Business wise, it makes the utmost sense. 100%. You
Yep.
know, as a businessman myself, having a division that attracts more people, just as simply as that, is good for business. When it comes to the more practical side, now you're 100% right. Like when it comes to being a professional and a high level men's physique athlete, you got to be pretty damn big, right? That's just the reality of the situation, you know, and I'm curious what they reward in like the men's side of like a fit model kind of thing, but I just I don't think that men's physique right now is so unobtainable. You know, maybe that's from my narrow perspective, um, without putting the adequate time in. You know, obviously, doing what's required in terms of the execution of the day to day. Um, because I'm not the biggest guy myself, like, I'm tall, but I'm not the biggest in terms of muscularity. And I've seen people who are not the biggest also get rewarded. So I get where you're coming from 100%. I just don't want a division for the men's side that almost feels like you can roll out of bed
But
and
I guess my point is you can't roll out of bed and be competitive in men's physique right now. I don't
no,
like
but that
yeah,
should be the
yeah.
like that's what I like about it. Like this is something you have to fucking commit to.
Oh yeah.
This isn't something that you can just say you're a bodybuilder because
But that's what the naysayers were saying about fit model now is that oh like they barely look like they go to the gym. Now there's levels to this like one of my
they're not
teammates
wrong.
yeah
They're not,
one of my teammates Jade on Ben's team with
I
me.
love Jade.
She looks great, and she does not look like she just rolled out of bed by any means.
No.
But I will say I've seen some fit models at shows that do look a lot softer, and it does look more attainable. And that's why I just said I think it just needs more time for that division to kind of mature a little bit.
Mhm.
But I still think there's levels below where men's physique is now that would still look like you're, lifting hard and I mean, put it this way, you as a Olympian need to take time off even to progress to where you're at. I
Yep.
had to take 18 months just so I could get to the national level, right? It took me 18 months. I made the hard decision to step away after my 2023 season. I was like, I am not ready to be competitive at NPC. I had to take the time off. Best decision I ever made. And now I'm like, you know what? I'm probably gonna need another year and a half before because what I've already been to the national stage. Like what like I've now that I've done that, it's on my list. Like
Mhm.
I want to be competitive in that stage, pushing for a pro card. And to be real with myself, I'm gonna need another 10 to 15 pounds of muscle for that. I just went
No.
against Alex Pardone, right? Like he was in my class at Amateur Olympia, and he didn't even win my class. He came second. Um, he was a pro in a different federation. There's another guy that was a pro in a different federation that was in my class. So now it's just a good respect, and that the one of those things where like, okay, I came seventh. I'm happy with my look. I'm pumped. I enjoyed the experience. I knew I wasn't getting my pro card yet, and I think people just need to be a little more respectful for all the levels of the sport because people always talk about their pro card and Olympian. That's it. It's like I want my pro card, they get their pro card, and I want the Olympia. But there's so many other levels to be proud of, like
100%,
in
bro.
between. And that's what I want this audience to understand is that like getting to the national stage now and looking good on the national stage, like you should be very proud of that, even if you didn't walk away with a pro card.
Yeah. No, listen, the way that you're putting it, if you want to compare it to the female side, I do think it makes sense in terms of the entry level side. It is easier to do bikini as an entry level um, competitor than it is to do a men's physique, right? In terms of entry and make and do well. I could see that there's a slightly bigger gap between somebody who just walks into the sport to do well in men's physique versus just walks into the sport and do well in bikini. And I say that with caution, because I do think they're very close. Um, maybe I'm rooted in tradition with bodybuilding at times, so I'm
Okay.
a little bit more narrative of perspective. So, I'll own that. But I just think as bodybuilders, having a entry level that's lower than where we currently are, because if you've been to regional shows, there's some people who might do decent, place top three, who kind of look like shit. So if you're still placing top three and you're not looking, the best, the chances are you have opportunity to grow and be better and progress, right? And I just think that the at least I'm if I'm not thinking of just the IFBB or high level of NPC, the regional side of things, I think if you see on average people who compete there, I I think that's pretty good to be entry level.
So you're okay right now with men's physique being the lowest level in bodybuilding?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And again, you got to realize that's mainly because of the like put it this way, is there a physique right now that you would put as a pro in the male side of fit model? Like, is there anyone that you can think of that might have not a pro right now, but like I don't think that there is I don't think that the barrier of entry for men's physique is dramatic. Like, you don't step into men's physique and there's no chance. Again, this is all dependent on the person, genetics, and things like that. But on average, I don't think you have no chance to go to a show and do well. I
I
think that
just
there's a
I guess I think they're just kind of in the same boat, I guess. Because I'm not taking
yeah,
away from bikini and how hard it is to compete now in bikini. I think they
he's hard
deserve
as hell now.
an entry level. I think I just like I would love to see it for the guys. I'm sure it will happen eventually.
I'm sure it
Um,
will, bro.
yeah,
Business is
but
business.
I get it. Look, I'm sure. Look how popular Fentanyl has been. I mean, I know someone um on my team who I was helping her with the bikini posing. I think it was at Tampa, and now she's a fit model pro. She switched divisions 6 months into the sport, and now she's a pro fit model, and that's just good for her. And I'm glad that this is an opportunity for girls now. Again, I think I would have waited for the pro card for another year, but and now we have an Olympia coming up next year with fit model in it.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah,
but
you're right.
I look, I'm just so excited for the sport and where it's at. I think it's gotten a little healthier. I think there's more. I think part of it is like more podcasts, more people talking about the sport. You have Fuhad, who's now not only talking about bodybuilding, he's also talking about men's physique and bikini now that he's partnered up with BTS and his news channel. So, and I love that you guys don't only ever talk about men's physique anymore. You guys talk about other things too. I think that's good for the sport.
Yeah, man.
And
Listen, I said it to start it. I'll say it to end it. Nobody gets us except us. So it's real easy to connect with people who just feel you're in line with. We go through the same shit damn near, right? Like, it's not easy to be a bodybuilder. We feel a lot of the same emotions. So when you have an opportunity like you to come on a podcast to connect with, a guest, the people who are viewing that's impactful viewership, because there's not many people who get what we go through. So when you simplify it just to that, these podcasts, this conversation, right? It sometimes can make people just not feel alone. And in a
absolutely.
sport that forces you to sacrifice a lot of the social norms that you were probably used to, you feel alone because of that. It's an annexation to a small degree. So just that in itself, bro, any podcast opportunity, I'm more than happy to take it, because I know that if one person can listen to this, bro, I know that sounds so cliche, but
That's the
that
truth.
that
It's the
one
truth.
person, man, it can change their whole perspective, because on a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different perspective, I was that one person, watching the podcast, being the student, and I've learned so much, man. So starting the podcast myself was never something I wanted to do. Never, bro. Never something I wanted to do. It's not easy scheduling podcasts. It's not
Oh
easy
man, it's
dealing with hosts sometimes who are a little inconsistent. Like, again, it's not, and there's a lot of emotions with it. You say the wrong thing one time, like that person might hate you, right? Like,
yeah,
so that's just the reality of it. But we don't do that shit for them. Fuck them, respectfully. We do this shit for that one person who might completely change their perspective. You know why? Because that one person, when I'm walking around expos, it's not just one.
man, it I'm just learning as I go, and I've taken on the responsibility that kind of you have with NPR and kind of organizing and finding the guests, and it's a lot of work. And
Yeah,
I just
bro.
kind of learn as I go. And the beautiful thing about podcasts, man, like even when you're starting out, if you don't have a lot of traction, that video is there for a while. You don't know when that person's going to view that video. There could be
Yeah,
someone that views this video next year or the year after, and it completely changes the course of their season. That's the beautiful thing about creating content is we get so caught up in the now, and we don't realize that what we're creating is a legacy, whether it's a massive legacy yet or not. We all have our own legacy. You
yeah,
know,
bro.
whether you have 100,000 followers right now or not, everyone started somewhere. And what I love about the sport right now, and the reason why I took this opportunity is because this is the most accessible the sport will ever be.
Read.
You know, like you can't, there's regional shows that I've been at where you'll have Olympians in the audience, you
Mhm.
know, like you
Often.
can't go play flag football and have Tom Brady in the audience. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of crazy to think like, so what that means is, and if anyone's watching and is kind of scared to take the leap of faith in whatever they're doing, it's like take that opportunity. You're not gonna just be able to DM a top 15 Olympian and get them on your podcast much longer, you know? And so I think that's the beautiful thing right now. We're at this like flexion point of the sport where you can make it what you want and you can really make something for yourself and help people and make an impact right now. Whereas if I was in football or any of these other sports right now, like you can't just create a podcast and create content that's going to be seen so readily. So I think that's what like it's just a really cool time to be in the sport, you
It's a
know?
great time for men's physique, man. And truthfully, Tyler Manion is heading a lot of the things that are changing with at least the public's kind of thing. And with his young perspective, and then of course the social media,
Yeah,
boom. Um, it's a perfect time, man, to fall in love with bodybuilding, learn how to do things the right way, see what doing things the wrong way looks like, and just honestly, bro, connecting with people who are like-minded.
fun, man. It's so much
Like
fun.
it's bro, it's
Dude, I go to all these shows because it's like I love the sport, but I also just love connecting with people and meeting new faces, especially living in Florida. Like I'm in Lauderdale, and like I have no problem driving 3, 4 hours to go up to Tampa to go to a show and meet more bodybuilders. Like get three more guests lined up, and it's like again, it's exciting how accessible it is right now, and um, we got to figure out how. Like I am down to help you guys, whatever. Like are trying to grow the division, right? Like, and whatever
I
we
don't
can do to
gatekeep.
help,
Yeah, I'm the same way, bro. I don't gatekeep, man. Like I love the division, but
it's
bro, I sit in front of a camera and press record and I talk about something I care about. This is
yeah,
not something that I am and like I said, I want to help other people grow just as much. I want to create good relationships in this sport. I have other hosts of podcasts on my podcast. They have me like that's there's too much, put it this way, collaboration over competition, brother. So I look
100%.
at it.
And you never know like which platform that one person needed to see that video sees it on.
Yeah.
And I think it's we like to run our episodes to really learn about the guest. I know like every pod has their different flavor, I guess. Like we really like to dive deep into the mindset of the individual guest. I think some are a little more news oriented. Like we certainly cover shows too. We've tried to take the angle of really learning like an individual like yourself and what they're made of and why they came into the sport.
Listen, you
And
guys should be proud, man. You guys should be proud.
it's
Most people talk about doing stuff like this. They don't take action. You guys have been consistent. Most people stutter out after, a handful of episodes, right? So you guys are doing it, and again, when I see people consistent, as you've been, especially for the division that I love, it makes it very easy for me just to want to get on and see what you guys are about
appreciate
and
that.
pick your
And
brain.
you certainly like maybe would have done this anyway, but seeing guys like you do it, it just again it reinstates that it's possible. Look, we had Brandon Henderson on our show at one point,
Yeah, you guys got Brandon and we couldn't get Brandon.
and then BTS collabed with us for that, and that obviously blew up views, and we didn't know when that's going to happen. You never know when which guest or which reel is going to pop up. We've had Mel Brodsky on, and I still get likes every day from that collab post, and it's really cool. But again, that's not why we did it, and I'll keep doing even if we stick at the following we have now. I will keep doing this. I don't care.
Yeah.
Obviously, we would like to grow because we can reach more people, but at the end of the day, you have to. I think some people are doing things they don't enjoy or don't really want to do for the wrong reasons, and that's where you can get. into trouble because
I couldn't agree more,
if
man.
you're doing it for following, then this is the wrong kind of.
Yeah, and you know
Just
what's
like if you complete bodybuilding for the money, that's probably not the right thing to do right now.
yeah.
But
If you commit most things that you commit to in life, if you do it for the wrong reasons, eventually they'll come back and humble you.
well, listen, man, I appreciate your time, and I do want to ask like what's next for you if you're comfortable sharing, or if you
Yeah.
maybe if you don't have plans, but
Yeah. So like I told you to start, I've really been on average more quiet on social media compared to, me posting every day, me on
yeah.
YouTube, 3 videos a week. I've taken that step back a little bit just to one, get my ducks in a row, but most of the time I've been planning. So there's a lot to come very soon. You're going to see that stuff start to roll out. I'm just going to leave it at when it comes to manifest world domination. It's as simple as that. I know that sounds a little dramatic, but you guys will see exactly what I'm talking
I know Terrence has been
about.
popping up on the manifest stories, and you guys
Trust
are
me when I say, trust me when I say, that's that's not even scratching the surface. You guys, it's going to be a special year for Manifest. And
well, as we grow, we would love to support you guys.
yeah, I see you guys rock, I see you rocking the shorts and I appreciate that kind of
Yeah,
stuff,
we
man.
work with, and actually, this is a good time to shout them out. But this podcast is brought to you by Wolfpack. We align with their mindset and of never average, always a wolf, and use code LIFT at checkout. We've loved working with Wolfpack and supporting them. And as we grow, if there's an opportunity to work with Manifest, we would of course love to work with you guys. Whatever we can do to keep supporting, the other people that are in it for the right reasons. Um, it's what it's all about. And whether we work with you officially or not, we're still gonna be pumping Manifest because
I appreciate that,
I will
bro.
be rocking those shorts on, next time I'm on stage, whenever that is. Um, and I it's a little bit of a habit now, addictive. You see a short you like, and it's like I don't need it anymore, but like I'm not gonna let that sell out and not have it. So, yeah, I know Dorian
You
was rocking some pretty cool early
got
releases of
sneak,
colors.
yeah, you got some sneak peeks of some stuff. If you pay close attention to certain things, you might be able to see some shorts that um, haven't released,
Yeah,
but like I said, man, we got a lot of cool things happening in 2026 with Manifest. Our coaching business reform is we just got out of a 2 day. That's where I was coming from, a 2 day retreat. So I know scheduling has been a little harder,
yeah.
but we just got finished that, man. We have a lot of cool things rolling out with that. My own competitive career, I'm coming for next, so I'm excited for that. And honestly, man, I'm very blessed. In 2026, I don't know how else to explain it. I just have a very good feeling about it. And I'm just gonna keep working, man. I'm gonna pray like it's up to him, and I'm gonna work like it's up to me.
Well, you have the beautiful thing about you is you're very diversified in the sports. There's so many ways for you to win. You could have a athlete
And
get their
lose.
pro card,
And lose.
true, but it's all how you look at it though. Like because you could get, maybe you don't do as well in a certain show you want to do, but then your athlete that's been grinding for years gets their pro card that
Happens
weekend. And
often. It happens often,
it's
bro.
crazy, and or Manifest booms and has a sellout weekend. I mean, and by the way, speaking of Manifest, like I am pumped for Dorian's future because I love that physique and it's more streamlined. His conditioning is
I will turn him.
borderline AI ridiculous.
I
I'll
will
be
turn him into an Olympian. I will turn him into an Olympian.
Oh, he'll be an Olympian. It just man, it. I mean, he talks about how much food he's eating,
Yeah, it's
and it's
nasty.
hard not to get jealous. But
Ugh, I don't envy that at all. Yeah,
I,
he eats a lot, man. He's a robot. That's just one of those people who it's easy to coach to a small degree, because he just is very similar to me. We just appreciate the work. Like you'll very rarely find people who are willing to work as hard and as consistently as we are. And I think that's, the recipe of our success. That's why we are great business partners. That's why he's, my best friend. That's why he stood up there with me at my wedding. And that's why we've had success on stage. It's just, we have very similar goals, very similar mindset in the way that we approach things. And, we've been able to have so much success in all the multifaceted things that we've done. Because of the respect that we have for each other, and like I said, I will turn him into an Olympian.
Oh, it's just a matter of time.
That's all it is.
And I love and I can't wait for that because like that's the kind of physique I love to see. It's as men's physique as you get,
I agree. Yeah.
and just a little more size. I mean, he's how tall is Dorian?
He is what,
5'11", 6 foot?
6 foot.
Yeah. So I'm rooting for him. We've been in touch a little bit. I'm hoping to get him on this podcast, maybe beginning of season two. Because he's also been growing his coaching business and obviously with Manifest. So honestly, maybe in the future we get you both on at the same time. That would be
Yeah,
cool.
hell yeah,
Um,
bro.
you know, different type of episode. But again, thank you for spending, this time with us, and we're rooting for you and all the different endeavors you have. I'm sure I'm going to see you at a bunch of shows. We're both Florida locals, so
Hell yeah.
and when that kid pops out, I know he's probably going to come out in board shorts.
Better believe it.
What's the due date again?
January 22nd,
Wow.
20 days.
20 days. I'll be fresh out of surgery about that point, but I'll be checking my news feed for that happens.
Appreciate you,
My
brother.
I had a client who literally he just had his newborn like 2 days before the Mel Chansey Holiday Classic. I didn't know if he was gonna keep going or not, and he sends me check-ins from the hospital, and I was like, "Whoa,
That's a real one, bro. I mean, shit,
that's
I'm gonna have to do the same thing with cuts. I was talking to him about that today, but like I said, man, thank you for having me on, and what you guys are going on. One thing I can give you advice for, I sound again so cliche, bro. You're gonna go through a lot of ebbs and flows in this, right? In podcasting, let alone bodybuilding in itself. Be unapologetically yourself. You're gonna, people are not gonna like you for certain things that you say. Some people are gonna love you for certain things that you say. Just like we talked about earlier, ride the midline, right? Don't let that low of somebody making a bad comment or not feeling what you said bring you down too much, and don't let the inflation of, somebody, posting or having, you on a podcast or numbers. Stay true to who you are. You're a good person, and if that stays true through it all, bro, you're gonna have a successful podcast.
I had to learn the hard way of how vicious the world can get when I
Welcome.
did collab with some guests, and now I'm exposed to what they have to deal with. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
name her
yeah.
name, but there was one of my female guests that was the I don't usually respond to comments, but I don't need to defend myself. I'm very comfortable in my own skin. But
Bro, fuck them.
when they come after one of my female guests and I'm like, wow, this is what your world is, like that showed me a different level of respect for some of the females in the sport.
Yeah, it's not easy, bro.
It's
Like,
not easy. It's
it's
not
not.
easy, and I had to learn the hard way by collabing with her posts. So now I'm seeing the comments, and that opened up a whole new level of respect for the females in the sport who have it harder than guys because obviously they're pushing their bodies to a different, just not. It's definitely not mainstream.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of respect for them. And by the way, like when I'm in England, if you guys need any like content or anything from overseas, let me know
I'll definitely hit you up.
whatever. I don't know how they're gonna police it, but I'm
Thank you,
down
brother.
to send you some photos or whatever or videos from the Arnold over there. So,
Perfect, man. Thank you so much.
all
Again,
right,
thank you for
Alex.
having me on.
Until the next time.
Have a good one.
All right, brother.